we go. Hi, everyone. Richard Carlton. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. Okay. Richard Carlton, check. Awesome training, check. Today's Tuesday, check. The upcoming broadcast schedule. If you go to fmtraining.tv, you can scroll down, and it looks like Todd with his beautiful hair is here once again. As a reminder, this live stream is free. Both Proof Guys and RCC are providing free for you. Okay. I would really appreciate if you scroll down and you purchase one of our, I would say a Patreon level subscription, but really, if Margaret scrolls down, you can see that we have these different levels. So instead of just sending us money, get one of our training subscriptions, get access to 100% of all our awesome training goodness. And that helps keep the lights on and pay the bills. In case of Todd, he has other cool you can buy, but really today is not about that. And we're going to get into that momentarily. So welcome, Todd. How are you?
I'm great.
So just hold. This is always the time when I get to sell your product for you. Okay.
Okay.
So I go to Proof Geist over here. They have a website, but how do I get the Otto from here? Is it Otto?
Automatic.cloud.
Modern FileMaker
Yes.
application platform.
Yes.
Okay. So I did.
Oh, look at that. We got so many webhooks being received. The number got bumped to the next row.
It broke off the backside.
I have to stretch that out some.
This is also now, should be a 1 here because I installed it.
Yeah,
and I have feedback for Todd. I told Todd it was going to be a painful experience, but we want to do that. So the short version of what this is you have a FileMaker server. You must have a FileMaker server. You're going to install Automatic on the FileMaker server, and then that helps you to perform migrations of your data. We talked yesterday about having a development server and a production server, and that's as you become a bigger operation. If you're still a small operation, you have 3 people and this and that sort of thing. Maybe you could do the development live on the live file, but that's always, people get nervous, especially if you have a bunch of employees, you're doing development on the live file. If you do certain things in FileMaker and development, you can cause everyone's screens to shift or change layouts and do weird like that. I've screwed these guys up before. So I'm here at Big Valley Aviation. Back in there behind the window, there's some windows in there. If I go over there, windows and doors and stuff. And they come out and they go, Carlton, we were here. Then suddenly the screen was possessed by Satan and it changed. And I'm like, sorry, I reordered a layout or something and it changed it. And so what this does is it allows us to have a development server and a production server. And so, of course.
Yeah, let me stop you here, though, for a second, real quick.
Okay.
So this page, automatic.cloud, this is our hosting platform. So this is where you can actually get servers and all kinds of other stuff from us.
What if I want
It includes OttoFMS as well.
Which
if you
is
just want OttoFMS, just type AutoFMS.com in the URL bar up top. Well, or you can click on that link either way.
AutoFMS.
Just hit that. .com and hit enter. It's going to take you to the product page.
Okay, so this is what we were playing with, right?
Yes. And then here's the AutoFMS page that you're on there now.
So this is the screenshot from about 2 hours ago, and I'm like, hey,
allegedly.
It's allegedly.
This is with AI. I think you did this with AI.
If you see try now, what does that mean? It means try it out and then get ready to bend over because you're going to get a bill in the mail. And so I said, Todd, you said it was free. You didn't say
it says free right there, too, right underneath.
Yeah, I know, but these two things are conflicting, and because that's what everyone says. So then Todd went over here and said, "You're foolish," because this is what it says now. So I want to point out that Todd is very responsive, and he understands what good marketing looks like, which is great. So this is truly free. You are not going to get a bill for this ever. So you install this service on your Mac, Windows, or Linux FileMaker server.
That's correct.
If you have a service provider, they can install it for you.
That's right.
And when you install it, one of the things you do is you get this interface, which I installed it on my server. And this is DBWT. Some of you have seen this. And so I haven't done any deployments yet. Deployments where you take the file. I think we defined the word deployment yesterday as moving the file from point A to point B,
but moving files from place to place.
And frequently you can import the data and export the data, but this interface isn't, am I viewing this at actual? Yeah, it's actual. It's a little bit oversized right here, but then you get down here. Oh, you recognize that from FileMaker. That's good. You can see that. Then I came down here to File Browser, which is great. These are this is like the directory of stuff is this inside the FileMaker server directory?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, so we gather up all the directories that you might need to have access to. So documents,
Mm-hmm.
the HTTP directories,
Okay.
backup directories, and then anything that we've added for like AutoFMS backups or inbox or outbox, which we'll get to later today, and automatic offsites and all
Okay.
that stuff. So those are all the folders that you may need
Okay.
access to, and you can
Mhm.
get to them and you can upload and download things from them without
Okay.
having to go and do remote desktop access to the server or SSH to a Linux box or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
So
kind of the big win there for the file browser.
what I'm going to hit right now is the stupid ones that I can discuss, and then as soon as we get the other stuff, I'm going to throw it to you, Todd.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so file browser simple. API keys has to do with multiple your servers trusting each other and talking to each other as they send.
It's two things,
De-
it's two different kinds. We have admin API keys, which we looked at yesterday because those
Mhm,
connect up, those let us securely communicate between server, right?
mhm.
And then we have data API keys, which stand in for credentials for the data
Mhm.
API and as of this version, the OData API. So
ODAT.
you
I
can
was going to
make
ask
an
you about that.
API
ODAT.
key to
Mhm,
get access through the data API or OData API
mhm.
without again exposing your credentials,
Which
which
is
is the main
great.
thing. Yep.
So the file browser is the files. Then down here, this looks kind of like the file browser a little bit, because
Yes.
because it starts off, and I saw this, and I'm like, this is really great. And of course, database clients and services. This is kind of the way the server admin console used to
Yes.
work back in the
Yes.
day.
So the reason we actually have this here is because we wanted to do a few other things on the live files. Like we
Mhm.
wanted you to be able to get a copy of clone or save as XML or encrypt and these kinds of things, which you can't do on the admin console. You can't get a save as XML file from your live database with the
Ye-
admin console.
Yep.
And so
And
it's
then,
hard to, you have to run a backup. If you just want a clone or a copy of the file, just give me a copy of the file. Just let me do that. And
yeah.
so that's why we have this here is because there's a few things in the admin console that we thought we just, as we're working with database, I just want a copy. I just want a
Mhm.
clone. I just need my save as XML. Just let me do
Yep.
that.
Just give it to me. Don't make it
And
difficult.
I
then,
mean,
So
I'm
and then
pretty sure
also
we.
encrypt, which
yeah,
you can't even do
that's
through other files.
the ear thing. So
Encryption at rest. Yeah.
yeah. So everyone, so real quick. So my formal complaint is that this right here is bullshit, because that my FMP12 file is only 11.82 megabytes, but I have 35 or 40 gigs of attached external containers.
Yeah,
And so,
so this just gives you the value that comes back in the APIs, which is that value. It does not report the container data as a separate data.
so it doesn't really tell me the size of, because if I hit download right now, am I going to get the container, not the clone, but am I going to, if I do
Go
this,
ahead,
am I
click
going to
it,
get,
see what it says. No,
okay,
yeah,
download.
you don't get the container data, but you can get access to the container data if you want it, but it doesn't come
Uh,
down as a download here. That is correct.
oh, okay.
But you can get it if you go to the file browser
Yeah, there I
and you
am.
go into the live databases folder down there.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Did
Click,
I
double click in.
double click? I hit
Yeah,
right
so
here.
open it up, double click, boom.
Oh, okay.
And now
Double
you
click
go
works.
into go
Okay.
into default, double click into default, and then somewhere in here you're going to see your RC. There it is,
RC,
RC, and then
and
your
then
container data and all that stuff.
it's not. It must. Nope. Here. Nope. Here.
Somewhere in there, because
It
this
must
is
be
just
somewhere else. Yeah. So
this is
okay.
just wherever your FileMaker file
So
puts it,
then you
right?
could. Oh, then you say get. Oh, you say okay. Well, this for fun. Let's try this one. Get size.
Yeah. So
Oh
there's your
yeah, yeah,
file.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, that's awesome, because that's
Yeah,
actually the external container side data in
yeah,
there.
yeah. The reason we
Ah.
don't just calculate it is because if it's a big number, it can take a while to calc. So we just let you click it.
Yeah, yeah, which is great. That's what we
Yeah.
teach people to do with summary fields and like that in
Yep.
FileMaker. We
Yep.
teach
Yep.
them
Yep.
not to have it auto generator. We'll be sitting there spinning all damn day. All right. So
Yep.
anyway, so I like this. I like this a lot. You come over to clients, you have services over here. This is so awesome. Everyone, I want you to meet simple. Start, stop, restart it. And if this doesn't work, then restart the whole freaking box. And if that doesn't work, call, call for help. Uh, but this is great. Start, stop, restart. I mean, what else do we need? I mean,
Yeah,
if
I
this,
mean, the big problem is that sometimes these can hang, right? If you've done a lot of
yeah,
like
yeah,
PSOS or server-side scripting, they can
yeah.
hang, and in the UI, like for example, if the data API hangs, which can happen, and you go look at the console, the admin console, let's say it's running, but
Yeah.
it's hung. running. And
Yeah,
so,
it's a lying piece is what it is. And so you know that it's not working. So you can come over here and tell it to
yep,
do that. This is
yep.
great. Yeah, so that's that. So then, but that's not why I installed this. Why I installed this on my server was this right here. It's like this little sonar thing. No, this is a log view.
It's a big file. That's why it's taking so long.
Yeah, and I'm on a kind of a marginal connection over here. In fact, that reminds me, I need to turn this on real quick before I forget what I'm doing here. Cancel. There's a log file right here. This is a beautifully easy to understand log. And I'm on a really kind of ginormous screen for all of you, but this is wonderful. This is the log, which if you download it, but you never see it it never looks like this in FileMaker because some engineers built it in FileMaker server and they don't use it. If people used if you ever run into a product, it sucks. And then you wonder why. It's because the people who built it don't actually use it. If engineers actually, like Todd is a real engineer, real developer, he was stuck using a log and he goes, this sucks. I want a good log. And this is what him and his team built, right? With Ernest and the rest of the team down there. So
Yep.
I thought this right here was just awesome. So
Yeah, and the highlighting and searching is pretty great too.
Oh, how do
So
I?
you can search for like 1184 if you want that. No, I'm sorry, right in the log. That search is cool too, but
Oh,
yeah,
this
right
right here.
there.
What am I
Yeah.
searching for?
So I don't know,
1184?
pick like 1184 and then
Okay, what's
and then hit enter and you get
oh oh
hit enter one
oh
more time or
uh,
click the little filter button.
oh
There
there
you
it
go.
goes. Okay,
Yeah.
so now these are
You just
only the
have a
11.
monstrous log here. I bet you've never
Yeah,
emptied this log.
why would I do it? It's on my personal Mac. The Mac keeps running. Why would I change it?
It's pretty big. How far back is it? Well, let's
It's
see.
only middle of May.
Uh, yeah, that's
It's
weird.
I've got
Interesting.
a no.
Well,
It's
this
I'm
is
sure it's
11,000 matches
yeah
for end of backup file, right? So
yeah.
it's a big file, but yeah. So if you got errors, you can search for specific errors. If you want to
Hmm.
search the access for when particular people logged in, you can search the access log. You can do all that kind of stuff. So there you go. 701 database process terminated. 701 is a
Ooh.
good one. That means the thing went down.
Okay, this thing
Yeah.
blew itself up Saturday, Friday night or Saturday night. And I first crash I'd had in a year, and I
Yeah,
had
that
to
was
do it.
it.
Yeah,
Database server was terminated.
terminated
Yeah.
unexpectedly, right? So
Yep.
anyway, we're all excited about logs. That's how easily entertained we are. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen. I'm going to let Todd take over, but I did install it on my server. Was exposed to the horrificness of this. It is free. I have not been asked for a credit card thus far. I'm very happy about that. So
So any questions, any questions from the audience you want to do
We
there?
do have someone real fast. It says, "Hey guys, I'm Andrew from the UK. I'm using Otto with my dev and production file on the same server, which works great.
Yes, you can do
And
that.
anything I need to be aware of or be careful of with it on the same server? Thank you, amazing product."
Yeah, so so we didn't talk about that yesterday. Let me bring up my handy dandy map. We talked yesterday about a dev server and a production server. And that is, typically how you see it done. But AutoFMS doesn't actually care. Remember in our deployments, we set up a source and a destination, but they can actually be the same, right? It doesn't actually care. So if you want to use your production server, one server to do both sides of the equation, you can do that. The thing you'll have to do is you will have to change the names of the files when you go from your dev versions to your production versions. Now, that's really great and easy if you've only got a single file solution. But Richard, pop quiz, what happens if you have a multi-file solution and you just change the names of the files?
you have to change all the references, which means you generally have to run it through the developer utilities in FileMaker Pro with the advanced tool window.
That's right. You would have to do that, except for the fact that
It's
as
built in with your
FileMaker
product.
20 or 21, I can't remember which, the developer tool is now available as a command line tool on the server, which means that AutoFMS will manage the renaming of the files, keeping the external file
I
reference.
have not used that specific command line set on the server yet.
Yes.
And I remember that being added. So was that done for people to do command line? Was it done for product developers like yourself? Why?
I think they just once they moved the data migration tool was there, and I was lobbying like put the other tools there. Like we'll build automations on top of it. We'll expose it. So now we have the developer utilities which can do encryption, decryption, save as XML. It can rename the files.
Wow, nice. Okay, great.
And the solution update tool may make an appearance at some point down the road in the future. And you can still use those tools as you always have, but having on the server means that we can add them to things like the migrations and deployments and that kind of stuff. So it's really helpful to be there.
Okay, I have questions, but I'm going to stay on topic. So, because you said something that triggered me, and I was being slightly triggered. So,
Go ahead, trigger it. Go
okay,
for it, man.
so XML2. So,
Yes.
what news do we have on XML2? Anything?
There's been a lot of work done on it, and it is getting closer. Whether or not it makes the cut for the next release, I just don't know. But I know because I've been involved in some of the conversations and testing about it that it's being worked on quite heavily and that kind of stuff.
Real quick, everyone, that's the Star Trek transporter, right? Where you take a file, you turn little atoms, you beam it through space, you rematerialize it. And the current product right now will lop off a finger or a toe or something.
Yeah, and so I mean, we can if that ever makes it to market, and we will build it into what we allow here with our workflows. We can come back and talk about the difference between what a migration gets you versus what a patch gets.
Patch. Use the word patch. That's super important.
It's really important to understand the differences between those because they're not identical and they leave you in different scenarios. They're useful in different scenarios, and you really have to understand what patching actually means as compared to doing a migration. And I'll say it really quickly here. With a migration, you've got a clone that is the file. The whole clone comes over here, and you move your stuff into it. You can be absolutely certain that that new file is exactly the same as the one that came off your dev server. It is the same file. If you patch a file, and let's say you send, let's say you make 4 patches, but you only apply 3 to the other file, those 2 files are no longer the same, right? That's the long and the short. That's like the thing to really think about if you get excited about the solution updater, because you're going to have to manage that well. And so what we're going to do is try to build that in to the process to allow you to be able to do a patch instead of a full migration. The good news with a patch is it will be extremely fast. You'll still have to close the file, but the patch will be applied in just a matter of seconds, and then you'll be able to reopen it. But the file will still have to close to do it.
Okay, real quick, someone just asked me what patches. So patches like where you edit a layout and it's going to give you the new layout.
That's right.
It's like if you went to some plastic surgeon and said, I wanted a bigger whatever, and they patched you with an upgraded whatever, right?
Instead of with a clone, it's like they made a clone of you. They made a whole clone of you and then shoved your brain into it. That's what.
And so anyway, so it's very different, right?
It's very different. It's very different. And and we're going to try to, I mean, it's useful enough that we think it could be very useful. But it's really important to understand what the difference is between doing a clone, which means you have the exact same file. I made that point yesterday. Like with the current migration tool, you can't lose some of the schema because it's the whole file. It's all or nothing. With a patch tool, if you don't do the patch right, or it's not applied in the same order or correctly or whatever, you're going to run into some situations where those 2 files are not the same. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to be thoughtful about that and then come up with a plan on that. But to be clear, that's what all the other professional development tools have had for years.
They do. Yes. And that's a whole topic for conversation we can get into when that comes around. It's just a lot of speculation at this point because we don't know when when exactly this is going to become reality and exactly how we're going to use it. We just don't know.
Sorry about that. All right,
no problem.
Please stay on topic. No patching for you.
I love questions, man. I really dig questions. So just don't worry about it.
Just forward it to Claris.
We've got lots of time here to get through the things I want to get through.
All right, go baby.
So let's pick up where we left off yesterday, where we talked about deployments, and we talked about this first simple deployment where we are moving our files from the dev server over to the production server. And we just talked about that's a clone. It comes over, and the data gets smushed into the clones. It gets reopened, and that's where we are, right? So that's kind of where we left off. We had a bunch of other things to say about it, but what I want to talk about today, on day 2, we're going to talk about first. I guess this is actually worth saying. So we're going to peel back the onion a bit on what we did yesterday first. So what we did yesterday is a process where we call just-in-time builds. So we're basically saying as the deployment starts, let me blow this up a little bit. As the deployment starts, we send that deployment like, hey, kick off the deployment to the destination server, and it asks the source server to make a build. So it's doing it just in time for when I ask for a deployment to go, make the build right now, just in time. When it's done, what's what we didn't cover yesterday is it actually gets shoved in the outbox. The outbox is a folder you can see in the file browser we were just looking at, and that's where that build sits. And what that build is it's basically a zipped archive of your files with some metadata and things like passwords and other stuff it needs to do whatever it needs to do. So that's just a zip. It gets shoved in that outbox, and then in the just-in-time situation, depending on whether you've toggled it to be a push or a pull, it's either pushed or pulled into the inbox on the other server. And the inbox on the other server, the destination server, is the staging area. So that's where we unzip it. The files are sitting there, and that's where we start doing all the work on the destination server, right? So that is a just-in-time build. What's important to get from this is that these are two different things, and they can be done at separate times. You can do a build ahead of time and then run the deployment later. And there's lots of reasons why that's actually a great idea. And we're going to cover a few of those as we go through this today. Cool so far?
Yes.
And so you will see you'll see builds as a thing on auto deploy.
Mm-hmm.
And you will also see it here. You'll see builds showing up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the this is our production server.
Sure.
And this is our development server. You see the builds. So this is a record of all the builds that have been done. And then so you can think about when we do a just-in-time build, it combines the build process and the deployment process into one. This is how we did it in Auto 3. There really wasn't a way to separate the two. It was one process. And one of the reasons why we re-architected from the ground up for Auto 4, which became OttoFMS, is because we really want to be able to break those into two different processes that can run at different times. The next thing, ahead of time builds.
Mm-hmm.
So in ahead of time builds, which basically just means the build's already done, when you kick off a deployment to the destination, it's going to grab a build from a bunch of different places, and different use cases have different reasons for these different cases. But one might just be the outbox of the source server. So you can run the build on the source server at like 10 a.m. and then later that day you can run the deployment later.
What, midnight or something when everyone goes home. Okay.
And it would pick it up and pull it over. There's a bunch of interesting things, like you can do a build. I guess we'll get to that. Let me see. Yeah, so this is another one here. So if you want the lowest possible downtime and you want to be able to know exactly when the downtime for a migration starts versus when it's done, what you want to do is you do a build, and you make that build have, not only does it do the preparation, but it can shove the file over to the inbox and just have it waiting there, right? And so now when that deployment starts, it doesn't even have to pull the files over. They're there. As soon as the files close, the migration starts, and as soon as it's done, it'll reopen them up. So this is what we call low downtime deploys. You do the build ahead of time, you push it over to the inbox on the destination server, and then later you trigger the deployment, and away it goes.
Okay.
Groovy?
That's groovy.
Let's see. Let's go ahead and do something like that. So let's set up a build.
Okay.
So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do a new build, and we're going to call this ahead of time. And I'm going to choose the build server, which is going to be my dev server. And I'm going to give it a build ID. And in this case, what people are doing oftentimes is they're putting a version in here, like version 1.1, whatever, right? So because especially if you're a vertical market provider, or if you just maybe we have some customers, like we have a bike shop that has like 11 different servers running the same solution. And so they actually they make a bundle, and then they send it to all the different servers, right? Like that. So, and maybe it's version 1.1.1, and the next time they do whatever, right? And so then this is going to look very similar to what we did before with the deployment, where we're going to choose our 3 files. We're going to configure our defaults. And then I got to look up in 1Password. There it is. Highlander. And we don't have, we do not have a encryption key.
Yep.
And in this case, I'm going to leave it as clones, which is good. And one thing I didn't talk about yesterday, which I just realized, and I'll talk about here, is this is setting the defaults, right? Sometimes you have a solution where you actually want to send the data. Like you may have a file that has static data in it. And both with the just-in-time build or the deployment we talked about yesterday, and in this case, you can come over here and you can say, Highlander utility is actually a copy, right? And so you can override all of the default file options here on the file level. So if they have different username and passwords, then you can do that here, or you can do clone or copy. In this case, I'm going to keep it a clone. But does that make sense? Because in your multi-file sets, you may have different passwords, and you may have some cases where you actually want to copy. Especially like in the standard data separation where you have a UI file and a data file. The UI file is probably a copy. It's probably not a clone, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah, no, I was laughing because the bike, you mentioned the bike thing, and I was wondering if each bike store had its own server, then did they share data at all? So what customer A could be in Shipe, the bike
so
shop
they have,
B,
elaborate roll-up schemes that they have to run. They have reporting databases that roll all that stuff up, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably dealt with that kind of thing before.
Oh, yeah.
But they have one solution that they want to have it run in all the stores, right?
Right.
So,
and it's local, so it's fast, right? So,
yeah, we actually, I was just talking to somebody over the weekend who has a very large retailer that has a FileMaker point of sale in all their stores. And they use OttoFMS to deliver out that solution to all the stores. And
nice.
Same kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no pressure. Not like blowing up a retail store because your software doesn't work. You guys have to make sure you're bug-free auto.
Yeah. And so here we get into some of the build options. And so here's that checkbox where you can say include the container data in case I want to bring the container data over. And then you can, these are fun. We get way into the weeds here, but depending on the server, so you can set the compression level really high, which will make the zip smaller, which will make the transfer faster, but it will use up more memory on your computer. So this is where we let you be like, let's let you fine tune the settings to work well for whatever server you're on. So you can set a compression level and a memory level to do that. We will just leave it on the defaults here in this case.
Yeah.
You can also do things like you can run a pre-build script. If there's something you need to run in the file that will set the file up to be ready to build, you can do that.
We have that before we ship starting point, a new build. We have a button we press and
so
it kind
my
of resets
goal
some shit.
by the end of this week is I want you to start ship starting point using OttoFMS.
Really?
That's that. If I can do that, then I'll just retire at that point. That'll be it. I'll tell Ernest,
we're done.
All you, man.
Life is successful.
I've done what I've set out to do. The mountain Everest has been conquered.
Conquered.
Yeah, we got it. But
That's
actually,
funny.
I kid, but I don't kid, because one of the things that we're trying to do here, and we'll get into this, is we want to make it really easy for people to be able to build solutions and share those solutions super simple across the ecosystem. That is one of our goals, and we've had it since the very beginning that we set out, and we've got some things I'm going to show you at the end of the week, which I think will you'll see where you'll get the idea.
Yeah, I think for us on that, I think we need the patchy part of XML2 to be a thing, because we have versions of starting point that we change them for currency and shit like that. And changing current as simple as that should be in FileMaker, I feel like I'm a heart transplant trying to change currency in a file.
Yeah. Patching. So that's a case where patching might be useful, where the files are not the same anymore.
Yeah.
But you're trying to add a piece of code in.
Yeah.
That's a different, that is a use case. That's, that's not a vertical necessarily, but we'd like to I think we already can convince you that this is how you should get everybody started, is by publishing a build with OttoFMS, and I'm gonna show you how cool it can be by the end of the week, and then you can tell
All
me
right.
whether I've met my goal. All right.
All right. Cool. All right.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna review this build, and we're just gonna kick it off here. And again, you can schedule these for later. Start now. And the way it's going to go, we're going to go through the same stuff we were looking at yesterday. We can go over to Deb and look, here's that new build that's starting. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, did you see the confetti?
Oh, I
did.
saw it
Yep,
briefly.
right in the
Okay,
background.
we're gonna run this again because it's so cool. I'm gonna write this just to override the build ID, so it'll ignore the fact that this is the same, and we'll
Okay.
just run it again, and we'll leave it on here so you can see the confetti because it's so cool.
You know, you have great products when we think that the log is cool and confetti and stupid is neat, right? So it's like
You
can
know,
tell you real.
yeah. Again, like this auto deploys a FileMaker file. And we got confetti. You see the confetti?
Oh, look at the confetti. That's so
Confetti, right?
great.
Yes, you too can have confetti in your FileMaker file. You can do it. So anyway, that's that.
Should
So now
hide
we've
some
got
in
our build.
FMSP.
And you can download that build, and I'll go ahead and do that just so we can see what that looks like here. Let me drag it over to a portion of the screen that you can see right over here in the corner. We open that up.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. And it double bags this, and we'll get into why later, but just so it has this manifest file, and it's got your files in here.
Oh, okay.
And, the manifest is what has all the details in it. And that's what it kind of looks like. And so the other
Okay.
thing is, if we go and look at tgdev, we go to our file browser and we go to our outbox, and there it is. Boom. See
Yeah.
So our build is there, and you can download it from here too if you want. Boom, right?
Okay.
Another nice thing about this is, let's say you're an in-house dev, you're working on a bunch of features, and you want to do a deployment to production, but you can't do it today. You got to wait till like you have a window, Wednesday, end of day or whatever. But you want to now begin to work on dev again, but you're not going to complete anything in time. So you don't want to do it just in time, because then you'll have broken stuff, right? So what you can do is you just make a build. Boom, that build is now saved off. And now come Wednesday, I can go into deploy here, and we'll modify this one. It's easy enough.
Okay.
So actually, no, I lied. Let's make a new deployment. So we go through the whole process.
Okay.
So we're going to do, so in this case, we're going to select the source, and, but first, in order to get these new all these features, I got to turn on advanced options. Now I can choose, look, it knows v11 is on dev. So I can just choose v11. I can choose my production server. I can go through and we'll get to sub deployments in a minute. We can do our default options, same as before. Copy password. Boom, boom. Save and add files. Pick our files. And so now we're pretty much ready to go, like in the same spot, but we've done it. We've built ahead of time. So now we're just going to go ahead and run this.
What was the last one? The last one was what? It was the last one this is ahead of time. What was the previous one?
Oh, we did just in time yesterday,
just in
where
time.
the build was done when you start the deployment. In
Yeah,
this case,
yeah,
the build
yeah.
is already done, and I can
Yeah.
select, right? And let's say I've done a couple different versions, and maybe I'm rolling version 1 out to some customers and version 2 out to some other customers. I can do that because I can just pick a different destination server and run this version over there and that version over there and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now we just go ahead, same thing we did before. We review and deploy, and we're just going to, and you can schedule for later, same thing. All those same stuff applies. And we'll go ahead and start it up and we'll get it running. And so now what it's doing is it's pulling it from the outbox in the other server. So it's not going to have to do the just-in-time build here. It's just pushing it right over. It's already started pushing the file over.
Okay.
And now it's already into migration. So it's faster. So we didn't have to make the zip. We didn't have to do any of that prepping, copying the files, any of that. Right. And now it's already in the middle of the migration.
Hmm.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, I need to sit and do
Extremely
this.
sweet.
I need to sit
Ask
and do one
questions.
of
Slow me
these.
down. Ask questions.
Margaret, you have questions?
We have a lot of people clapping.
Are they
Ah,
clapping? Woo! I
Yes,
like clapping.
you get applause. Applause is absolutely happening. We have questions, comments, concerns. Someone was mentioning difficulties renaming
Look at that
56
confetti.
files at once. Oh,
Yeah.
confetti, Alex. So that's a great way of ending a process. I love that.
If we have time, well, one day this week we'll definitely get into renaming files because there's some tricky things there. The way the tool does it is it basically uses regex, so we have to give you some constraints, and if you don't get those constraints right, it doesn't work right. So we'll get to that at some point this week. But the confetti happened, the thing was done, and so now let's take a look at the difference here. If we go look at on production, if we go look at deployments. Yesterday when we did it, just-in-time build, it took 1 minute and 24 seconds. This time it took 46 seconds, right, to do the whole thing, right? Way faster. Now let's up that game a little bit. Let's go into build, and let's do this. Let's publish the build. And what I want to do here is publish the build to a server inbox, and I'm going to select production. And now, so same thing. But this time, when the build happens, it's going to do the build and it's going to shove it over into the inbox. And that's when the build will be done. Okay?
So you're saying it's making the clone, then it's pushing it over.
It's
then
making the clones, it's zipping up the files, and then it's pushing it over to the inbox. So in this case, we're doing we're going to do the build and transfer the files over to production so that it's just waiting there, right?
So it's staged ahead of time.
It's staged ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so we're going to let this, that's done. Whole thing happened. It pushed the build over, right?
Okay.
So now it's sitting over here in the inbox.
Okay.
And so now we go to the deployment and we go to our ahead of time and we can choose destination build inbox. Boom. And now when we run this,
I see this being super useful for some people. I would probably, because I don't do a lot of these, very few of them actually, I would probably just do the, I would do the whole thing on one pass, keep it simple, right? Not like with
that's why we have that
stuff.
simple, we don't even show these options.
Oh, these are only showing the advanced options. Yeah. Okay, great.
That's right.
And then what would happen is then I wouldn't want to be up at midnight for the customer. I'm like, well, so now I have to go and schedule it to,
Right. And so this is definitely because definitely if that's the easy way to think about it, that's the default. You can definitely go ahead and do that. But there's many, many use cases where building ahead of time is the way to go. And
no, I get that.
This is
to some degree, this is a little overwhelming. I mean, because you've taken this,
that's why I said we need 5 days, Richard. I got to get through all the cool stuff.
No. Well, yeah, my head is, I need some caffeine in a very bad way because this is overwhelming me with awesomeness. I am overwhelmed with pure awesomeness, right? That was that.
So part of what happened is, Auto 3 shipped for 4 years. And so we had people telling us all the times when they just couldn't do what they wanted to do. And so we added these features. We kept the simple option, the default, just do it like you always did. That's going to work for probably 60 to 70% of maybe 75% of all the use cases. The problem is our heaviest users, the people who are doing like we have vertical market solution providers who are migrating 1,000 files on a Saturday morning, right? They have to have these features. They have to have them to be able to do this.
Do you really have an SBA person who's doing 1,000 clients on a? Holy
yeah.
Wow.
So they have. So we're going to get to. I hope we get to multi-tenancy and talk about that in a second. But I know it's probably not going to be a big thing for the audience that's on, unless there are any. If there's any SBAs in Discord or whatever, raise your hand. Let us know if you're out there. They're
out here. They're out here.
Just to be clear about it, we have people who have they'll be running, because if you're on an SBA, you can host multiple customer solutions on a single server. And
Yes.
so we have people with a dozen or more servers
Mhm.
that are, and some of those servers have 20, 25 customers on them. They're big servers.
Yeah.
We can host bare metal servers, and so we have a couple of SBAs that love those because they're big and monstrous, and they have all the space in the world. And so they will do what they used to be able to do maybe an update a quarter. They can now
Mhm.
do an update any Saturday morning that they want to.
Mm.
They just do it. All goes out to all 13 servers. All the things go through. Everything, boom, boom, boom. It's a
But
game changer for that market.
it is. It is. When I deal with SBAs, most of the time I deal with them prior to this stage. And it's not really part of this conversation, but for those of you SBA people out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. We talked about what it takes to be an SBA, to have vertical market app, and to have the right balance of personality to where, because we have some SBA people who they're OCD, and so they'll never finalize a product to ship it. It's never
Yeah.
good enough, so they keep working on it, and they never sell it. They never make any money, and they just keep corkscrewing in a circle because it's never good enough. And it's a number of companies of, well, I think most SBAs don't survive. I think if you really work hard, you have the right connections in the business into that vertical market business, then yeah, you can make good money doing that. But it's a trick. There's a lot of things you have to have lined up.
There is,
This,
and then and then a part of it is like, how do you do your updates, right? And
well, and
so,
now this is
yeah,
honestly, to be clear, I mean, as nice as this is, I would say problem is they get rubber stamp it solved,
right. That's
right?
that's our goal. Our,
That's
our
your
goal
goal.
is to make it to lower the bar on what it takes to technically be able to do a vertical, so
Yeah.
that you can just do the development on your vertical. And
Yeah.
if you're into administrating servers, if that's a thing you want to do and you want to spin up your own servers on AWS or
Hmm.
whatever cloud you want, and you want to manage that, go for it. You can put
Yeah.
AutoFMS on all your servers and go for it. If you just want to focus on a vertical and you want
Uh-huh.
somebody else to do all that, that's where we have the automatic platform, where
Yeah.
we will host and manage all of your servers for you
Okay.
in more than 32 data centers around the globe. So that's like the fully hands off. All I have to do is be a FileMaker developer and have an idea for a product, and we've got all the answers for that for you. That's kind of what we're aiming for there.
I got it. I worry when you say all you have to do is a FileMaker developer and have an idea. And the road to hell is paved with people who start with that.
They got to start somewhere, man.
Well,
Like,
I
and then they
get
and
it.
then they come and they come here and they watch your
I've,
show every week
I've
and they
seen
learn.
so many lose their asses doing this, right? And I
I,
hate seeing that as a person. Listen, back up. I want everyone to be successful.
yeah,
Todd is here because I like Todd. He's a great guy. Ernest is a great guy. There's some people overproof guys that hate me, but that's okay. I get to deal with that.
that is
Martha,
just not true.
that's not true at all. But I want everyone, and that's why and just give me a moment here. Todd, have a drink.
Sure.
Just take a break. I want everyone in this community to be successful. I really mean that, right? It's not about trying to one up Todd. And then, I mean, if I can embarrass Todd randomly to make he has a better product because of that, I've done that to people before. It's fine. They do it to me. But I want everyone to be fundamentally successful. And when I see people who fail or they're on the track to fail, I cringe and I hate that. If I know better, then it's pretty damn obvious what the problem is. I need people that I can add all the easy questions and easy answers. I need people like Todd to solve the hard problems in life, right? So yeah.
I get it. We have people come all the time. They have a great idea for a vertical, and and it's
Oh, and I'm not complaining.
we have to we have to
it's nothing to do with you. I'm just saying
yeah.
this solves a huge part of it, everyone.
Yeah.
And I want you to be successful. So if you have SBA questions, ask me, ask Todd.
And to be clear, there's actually a large number of SBAs that are already very successful. And so one of the things we're trying to do is make them even more successful by giving them the tools that they don't have to worry about. They can go from shipping an update a quarter or twice a year to shipping it every week if they want to, because that's how you make good software, right? You're responsive. You can get updates out quickly and easily. You don't have to worry so much about that. And
Why
so,
am I here? Why am I here with these guys? I can hear them over there beating on behind me. Why am I here? Because face-to-face customer interaction is the best way to deal with customers, right? If you've got a good and you can handle that, right? And when they say stupid, these are these are the people, they get confused by FileMaker. You know what their response? They did it 2 weeks ago. They pull the plug out of the back of their computer. Seriously, that's how they get trapped on a window. They don't know how to close the window, or FileMaker it doesn't work. Pull the plug out. That's why I go places, and yeah, you and I have similar age, been around the block, meeting people face to face or in Zoom at a minimum. It's a great way to build a relationship
And
to
we
solve
want
these.
we want the people that are using these tools to have more time to do that and less time
Oh yeah,
dealing with the headaches of
back in the old
technical
days, we'd
changes
have
that
to
we
run
just
an
want to do
import
right.
command on a per table basis. Oh my God. Oh my
That was
God.
back when I was with, New Millennium, which is now Codance.
Yep.
We would do Genesis. It would take 48 hours to do a managed migration,
Yeah.
import table by table. And it just didn't, that's hard. That's hard. We want this to be easy. We don't want developers to have to spend time inventing a process to keep their solutions up to date. That should just be something that
Yeah.
is available. And that's what
So,
AutoFMS's goal is. And it's
yeah.
to work at the level of I'm an in-house developer
Mhm.
and we're just doing dev to prod whenever we ship new features, or I'm an SBA vertical and I've got 24 servers and I've got, 1,000 customers or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Both of those problems should be solvable by technology, and that's what AutoFMS's aim is, to do that, because
Yeah.
we ultimately want every part of this ecosystem to be successful.
Yep.
And so to remove the roadblocks
Yes.
of being able to do things effectively and quickly and easily and reproducibly is really
Yeah.
the whole goal of
But
AutoFMS, and really the automatic platform as a whole is to do that. If you don't want to manage your own servers or you don't have a service provider for that, then don't, and we can just do the whole thing for you. And you
yeah,
can
sure.
just work on on your product, on your FileMaker system. That's the goal.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
That's what
I
we're
didn't
trying to do
really
here.
get off in the weeds here, but
But I
it's
do want to
important
point this out.
people.
Look at, so we went
Yeah.
from a minute 24 with the just-in-time build to 46 seconds down to 38 seconds when we push the data over. Now, if you've got a bigger solution and you've got, like, I think ours zipped up is a gig or less. If you've got a bigger solution and it's zipped up and it's much bigger than that, then that data transfer is going to take a lot longer, right? So
So
this can really help by doing this ahead of
all
time.
of this is assuming that we're not moving. Yeah, because when you're doing builds, you're not sending the data. It's just a clone.
That's right.
Okay, to be clear, I've never really thought about this too much because we do training with the data migration tool and the command and all this, but the containers, right? If the container's inside the file, it still doesn't
No
matter because
problem. Does
you're
that.
going to get a clone because it's a clone.
Yes. Yes. The only
So
time when we're going to do this next, the only time you want to do deployments with container data is
it's like a
if you
reference
want to do a
file or
install replace, not
yes.
a migration.
Yeah.
Then you want the container data over there,
Can
right?
you, does that have to be a separate file? Or that could be a targeted table, right? At a table
Could be
level,
a
like,
table. You could do it as what I'm talking about now is well, so the only time you're not moving clones is when you're doing an install or a replace. You're putting the whole
Mhm,
thing over there, right? And so
mhm.
where that comes up is one of the next cases I want to talk about. So maybe we just do that and it'll
Yeah.
elucidate some of this a little
Well,
further.
I'm just thinking out loud, like, because I could see someone say, well, this is the table, which is the official proprietary secret sauce in this table, and we want to refresh this one table. You have 100 tables, one table, we're going to keep the data, 99 get migrated or
You
some
move it
shit.
out and then it becomes a copy. You put it out
Yeah.
and that's exactly right. So if you need to keep the data, it doesn't change, it's static, and you need to keep it in the file, then you do a copy. And then, of course, now you're going to have a bigger zip. Your zip is going to be much bigger, and it's going to take longer to transfer over the internet, right?
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, considering I came from the world where it was 2 days to do one update.
Yeah, that's right. This is
I mean,
this is
for
this is
me, if it's
amazing.
less than an hour, I think I've died and gone to heaven. This is the best
Yeah.
thing ever, ever. Oh, yeah. So you wrestling between 20 seconds and a buck 42. I'm like, who gives a shit?
We have
Right. But
people. We have a customer who we have FileMaker is pretty big in the custom manufacturing biz.
yes,
You see a
yes.
lot of it. I'm sure you see a lot of it. We have a customer who their manufacturing lines are all controlled by FileMaker and they run 24/7.
Okay. Yeah. So then a clock is really important for
The
that. Yeah.
clock is really important. If the manufacturing lines are down, they're literally losing money. So they want that window to be as small as possible. They
Yeah.
basically will give them 15 minutes on a Saturday night and that's
Mhm.
it. The only time the machines can be down. They have other maintenance windows, like when the machines, they do the maintenance on the machines in rotation, so they're never all down. But when the FileMaker system goes down, the plant stops. Nothing, right? So in a case like that, these downtimes are critical.
Mm-hmm.
They're critical.
Okay.
They can't be hours long. They can be minutes.
Okay. No, I got that. Good point. Good point. Yeah, I don't know if I have too many that are 24 hours, but there's some that they have 2 shifts out of 3, right? And then 18 hours a day, they're very, very busy. So, yeah.
We do have
So,
some questions. I don't know if
Sure.
y'all want to tackle them. Okay, cool.
Yeah, come, bring them.
From Andrew Dunn. So you can set a time later to deploy. Where do you
Yes.
set the time?
Todd, just show that real quick. That's going to be a highly requested thing to show.
Yeah.
that.
So whenever you do a deployment, where's my deployment? Oh, because I deleted it. Right. So let me go back to one of the other. Let me go back to this one.
Okay. Okay.
Schedule for later.
Okay.
Instead of start now, you schedule for later. And when you do that, you get a little thingy, you put in the date and time, you hit schedule. And you will see in the FileMaker admin console, you will see a schedule because we use the FileMaker script scheduler to do the whole thing. So you'll put a schedule in there to do it.
So say that you are going to do this in the middle of the night, you're going to go home and have a life. I mean, I'm sure Jacob Taylor, my guy, asked me this morning. I said, I don't know, but I'm assuming you have some way of alerting the developer that your went well or didn't go well or whatever happened. Okay.
So,
send notification.
So you can send notifications. You can send to Slack or you can send to webhook.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're not using Slack, send a webhook to Claris Connect or something, and then have Connect send, if you want a text message, have it send through Twilio or whatever. So we added Slack because that's like the most common one. You just click the button, you configure your Slack channel, and then it'll send events as the migration starts, as it finishes, it'll get all that data in Slack. So yes. And people really like that because sometimes the answer they get in the morning is something failed because the file was hung open or they had a wrong password in the file and it couldn't migrate. So they want to know that next morning when they wake up, they look in they can look in their Slack and they can see, it happened perfectly.
And as a reminder for people who missed yesterday, if a migration is going to fail, what is the default behavior for it?
Yeah. So if a migration fails for any reason, because let's say there's corruption in the file and the migrator says, I can't do this, or if you have wrong passwords, or if the file can't be closed, then the original files are left untouched. They're not touched at all. They are simply opened again. They were closed to start the migration, and they're just opened again
so the existing users can still use the files. They're still in business. You haven't screwed them out of their stuff, right?
That's right.
Yeah, perfect. That's a common one. Scheduling it. Good. These are great questions. Anyone else have questions?
Yes. How many builds before you must actually deploy them? Like if I stack.
Well, there's not really a limit on the number of builds, but the builds do take up space on your server, right? So you're going to want to manage that. You're going to want to delete ones that are no longer necessary. The other thing, which I didn't cover, and let me do that real quick, is you can actually publish to the HTTP folder on the FileMaker server.
Really?
And one of the other sources, if we go back up here, is a URL. So you can actually push your build to the HTTP folder on FileMaker server, and then it would be available just via a normal URL. And the way that looks in the deployments is enter a build URL, and you would enter the URL to the manifest JSON file that's sitting in your FileMaker server. I think I have an example here. You get it? I'm breaking your brain.
No, but okay. So about half the audience here just thought of something that I did too. So go back to your diagram here real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have this software that we put in there. We can schedule it to do it, and it can move the file to some other location.
Yes. And this is critical. for more advanced use cases, or for my evil plan to get RCC to ship new versions of FM Starting Point using AutoFMS.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Does it have to be was there a checkbox that was the clone? Because like could I use this to move a copy off the server
Yes,
as a backup
you could,
location
but we
somewhere?
have backups built in too, so there's no real reason to do that. We
No,
have
no, but
automatic.
like an offsite, like it goes somewhere else, right?
Yes, but we have offsite backups to S3 buckets as a separate feature, which we'll get into. But yes, you could.
In this product, or is it a different product?
No, same product. Same
Is
product.
it a free product?
Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't know that?
no.
Oh my goodness. So
Now I'm aroused.
look at this. We did talk about it
Oh.
yesterday. Offsite.
Well, okay, but to be clear, okay, stop. Todd, everyone just don't look at the screen. Todd, look at this. No one's looking at this. This is a lot to absorb.
I know it
right?
is. That's why I said 5 days. We'll try to get to this a little bit later in the week, but let me just show this page here. You go down this page. So in automatic settings on offsites, you can enter as many S3 compatible endpoints as you want here. Okay. It just has to be S3 compatible storage. Wasabi, Blackblaze, AWS,
Stop.
Vulture.
Just stop for a second. Stop.
Okay.
Okay. I was unaware of something you just said. So S3 normally is an Amazon thing,
Yes.
but S3 is a standard that
It
other
is.
people can do.
It is.
I did not know that.
Yes. So everything from Cloudflare R2 to Wasabi to Backblaze to all the major cloud storage. Basically, if you're a cloud storage, you don't have S3, you're not really in cloud storage. They're all S3 compatible.
It's like Adobe became the PDF standard expert.
Yes.
So if you're doing file, like almost like file storage kind of shit.
Yeah, it's called object storage, not
Object
block
storage.
storage, which is what you can run your FileMaker files on. Object storage is not that fast. Like you can't easily set it up to be like random, like a normal disk.
This is like having Corn Walker on this show. It hurts my head.
But so pretty much everybody who wants to do offsite backups is going to any provider they're using. Actually, I don't know that Dropbox does. We can add Dropbox as a separate thing. I don't know if they have the S3 compatible endpoints or not, but all of like the other ones, like Wasabi and Backblaze.
Well, the reason I mentioned Dropbox is because it's easy for people who are not technical to go fetch a copy of the file in a crunch.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So one of the other thing to note is that for the nice thing here is if you get, and by the way, you can get S3 storage from us. It's very easy. I'll show you later. You can just pick the location you want it. You get all this data, you get all the information you need, and we can actually just install it right on your server for you. Once you have an endpoint set up and you can set up schedules for different schedules to go to different endpoints, right? If you want.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on board.
But in your file browser, you can actually browse the backups right here. And I didn't talk about this because I don't know if I have any. I don't have any files on here. Let's see. Do I have any? Let me see if I have any files. If we go to the FMS backups and we go to dailies are probably. Oh, I don't have any backups running on this machine. Rats.
We should do it on my machine and send it somewhere. But that might take too long.
But no, I don't have any backups running here. So if you have backups, you can go over here and you can actually restore from your backup directly back to your live production databases. So let me just plant that seed. It's there. Oh, you want a timeout on that one?
Well, no, does that mean what I fully think it means?
Yeah, fully backup and restored, built in. For free. Don't need a credit
See,
card.
this is the part that it hurts my head. It's like people can't believe I do Starting Point for free, and then I'm seeing this, and you keep saying, "Oh, that's free too," and "Oh, that's free too," and I'm like,
I mean, we do sell S3 storage. We do sell S3 storage.
Yeah, you have to sell something, otherwise you're out of business.
So you can buy S3 storage from us, and you can use that, and we make, we sell it for I think $20 or $25 a terabyte or something. It's not cheap. It's not the cheapest storage out there, but it's very easy and very easy. It works really well with our setup. And so that'll just give you offsite backups and restoring. And in fact, if you're hosting with us in Automatic, actually, we'll have to check. We'll check later and see if you can do this. But you can actually restore to a different server too.
Wow. Well, that would make sense because Otto's moving all over the place,
That's
right?
right.
If you had the Ottos installed on say you had 5 servers, then you could, you know.
Comment
I'm
from
Go ahead. Questions.
Yeah.
Hit me.
comment from Jacob. It sounds like I may be able to deliver ransomware protected backups on Linux with this.
I was not going to bring that up, but he's here. So he's talking about the time-based lock on S3 buckets, right?
Yes.
That can lock.
Yes.
And
So if you choose a provider that has immutable S3 storage, which is what you want,
is the word. Yes, immutable.
then you can do that. And that has happened to people. They have all of the backups on their servers were encrypted, and they were stuck with the ransomware. If you do this and your S3 provider has immutable data storage and you turn that on for that endpoint or that bucket, then yes, that is correct. Okay. Do I get some cheers in the Discord for that?
No, it's we're overwhelmed by awesomeness.
My mind is blown.
Yeah. No,
we have more questions and more comments. I wanted to grab Jacob's, but I'm going to back up a little bit. If you schedule a deployment for a future point, how do you handle logging off users? Can it send a message to users?
It doesn't do that by default, but you can build that in. There are ways to do that. You can send a message you'll have to do some coding yourself to do that. But typically what it's going to do is it's going to try to close the files and it's going to give users that message and it's going to close it on them. But with some other editing, some other coding, writing some FileMaker scripts that contact the data API or the admin API, for example, you can totally pull that off. So you could have a FileMaker script scheduled for 15 minutes ahead of time, before your migration goes. It says, we're going to start a migration, everybody out, and it will attempt to kick them off. But we don't have that built in. It's come up a few times. We probably will add it at some point, but we just haven't yet.
Well, it gets back to this concept. We kept asking Claris for this. They had PSOS, and it was supposed to be PSOC, perform script on client, where you forcibly push a script to run on a client.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't. Yeah, that's a monkey bread thing or something. By the way, everyone was gone, and Todd went off about how great monkey bread was, and how he was
it's the first plugin I install on every FileMaker install.
Yeah. Yeah. That has to be a commercial.
It's it's the developer tools alone, which he gives away for free, just like we give away OttoFMS, are worth it. In fact, I would not program for any length of time in FileMaker without monkey bread installed.
Yep.
So there you go, Christian. Just for you.
Just for you. We need to edit that out as a commercial.
Yeah.
No, it's good. He should look. It's a great thing he gives everybody. He should be rewarded for that.
Oh,
No,
absolutely. And it's pretty cheap. I think his product's like $1.20 per user per month. Like $1.25.
It's worth it. It's worth paying for it.
Oh yeah.
It totally is.
Absolutely.
Other questions, Margaret?
What's the use case for deploying what is the use case for pushing a deployment to a URL?
Yeah, so this is where we get to
starting point, right? That's what you're thinking.
So I'm not ready to show this complete demo. I will show the complete demo later in the week, but imagine you have a FileMaker solution that you would like to make available to the community. And to do that, you make a build and then you push it up to your website. And one of the build options here is SFTP. You can put it up to, you can send it up to a website, and then it would have a URL. There'd be a URL to that manifest file. And that means that anybody can deploy that file using auto deploy as long as they have the URL. And I've got some more stuff I want to show on that gets even cooler, but just imagine that URL is now anybody who's running auto can easily, by just going into a deployment, setting it up, choosing build URL, and pasting that URL in there, and boom, away it goes. And they don't have to have, otherwise, so this is a public build, if you will. It is publicly available. There's no username and password on it, right? It's just, whereas if you're pulling it from the other server, those servers are connected with that admin API key, which is secure. People can't just grab stuff out of your inbox. They can't do that.
Right,
because
right.
that's a private build, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a public build, if you want to push it out to an SFTP server,
Mhm.
if you want to do that, or you
Mhm.
can push it out to the HTTP folder on your FileMaker server, which is public, if that port's
Okay.
available, 443, then people can just download it. So this is a way so what a lot of people use this for is they have a starting solution. Like sometimes maybe they call it their FM starting point, and they want to just, when they go to a new customer, they want to just
Mhm.
be able to deploy that solution right onto the server. They
Yeah.
just pop in auto deploy, they throw the thing on there, and boom, the deployment's on and it's right in, just like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh.
Is the gear starting to turn there?
Yeah, well, what would make this really great is that if Claris took your auto FMS and made it part of the base installation of FileMaker server.
Hey,
Then it would actually
we'd
be like,
listen to offers. I mean, this is sort of like, I mean, Claris has got a lot on their plate. They're doing a lot of different
yeah,
things. AI is a big thing they got to deal with. They
yeah,
can't do everything. So we've basically decided that it is good business for us to try to
mhm,
fill this hole. And that's
mhm.
why AutoFMS is free, so that as much of the ecosystem that wants to adopt it can get these benefits.
Yeah, no,
That's why we do it. So
no,
we have
I get
offsite
it.
backups, we have the deployments, we have these free, easy ways to share files, right? Instead of like, in the marketplace where you download the file, then you have to upload it to a server. What if we just had a button that said, install this on my server? Hint, hint. That's something like I might show later this week. Click a
Yeah,
button
no,
on a website, install this on my server, right?
yeah, that would
Why
be
not that?
really.
Well, we can do that. We're going to show that later.
It's funny. I just sitting there grinning in the end. It's like, it's people want to know what it's like to be around smart people. It's like you're overwhelmed and you're smiling because this is, yeah, you're around
Look,
people. It's like you're building awesome. It's like, I'm just going to smile. This is awesome. It's awesome.
we've been doing this, between Ernest Company, Ernest and Steve and Proof
Yeah.
and, me. I mean, the collective experience is, more than half a century of trying to build and ship products, either products or custom solutions to this ecosystem. So
Yeah.
we've been around the block and we're trying to just shave off as many of the pain points as we can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes
we
perfect
think
sense.
that enough value will flow back to us because, it just gets our name out there. It's good marketing that eventually
Yeah.
it'll pay off. And actually, I say eventually, it already has. Like we're doing just fine.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
signing up for automatic because they just are like, these guys, it's so great on this. Why don't I just give them my hosting? Or, God, I
Yeah.
got this really tricky problem to solve with my FileMaker development. Why don't I just hire them to do it? And they do.
Yep.
And that's,
Yep.
it pays off. The same reason you do
Starting
the
point. Yeah. Yeah.
CRM.
It keeps it. Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta, we just feel like the community works if you are leaving value on the table for others
Hmm.
to use, that
Yes.
they can
Yes.
generate successful businesses and they
Yes.
can generate more economic activity and the whole, thing floats.
Absolutely.
That's why
Raise
we're doing
the.
it. That's why we're doing it.
All right. Well, it's 2 o'clock or two, whatever it is now. What was our goal for getting through today? Because we've been.
I think we're gonna have to leave it for tomorrow. This is gonna be a big one, but I can queue it up so that maybe people can
Yeah.
ask questions.
Why don't we pre-chat this? Yes. What is this?
So what I'm talking about here is this is one of the things I want to get into what sub deployments are. And sub deployments solve a couple of use cases that are pretty important. Sometimes you want to do um, a series of deployments and you want them to um, basically each one should be treated atomically, like either it should fail or succeed in itself, and then whether or not it fails or succeeds should maybe allow the next one in that list of deployments that you want to happen
Okay.
to go forward. So sub deployments are that. And so here's an example. Sub deployments, one of the things people use it for is to refresh their staging server. So a staging server is, so first, your first thing you want to do is you want to move your development to a dev server and then you're pushing to production whenever you're ready. But sometimes you got a lot of users and the business is, you cannot take them down. You don't want bugs. You want people to have a place to test things before you ship to production. So you put up a staging server or a test server. And in that case, what you do is you move your production data to the staging server, and then you use that as the source for your dev. And so you get a dev copy with your production data in it, right? Get that? Because then now you can test in a environment that is not production, but
Yeah.
has all the production data in it.
So it's like you're going to end up doing a double migration. You're
You're
starting
going
with
to
a
do a
clone.
double deployment.
Yeah, double
But
deployment. Sorry, yeah.
if the first deployment fails, you don't want to migrate you don't want the second one to happen, right?
No.
So sub deployments gives us that ability where we start a single deployment. The first sub deployment does an install replace. So it makes copies now, not clones, but copies from production over to staging. And then if that succeeds,
yeah,
it then will go ahead and just pull a just-in-time build or a pre-build, whatever, ahead of time build from dev and do that. And so we have people who do this every night.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the middle of the night, they kick off, they pull staging, they pull a fresh copy of production over to staging, and then they ship their latest dev over there. And then the next day they come in and they can have users log into staging and test stuff out and say, yes, this is okay, or no, this isn't. Right. And so that's what sub deployments give you.
That's
the other thing sub deployments give you is multi-tenant. So this is what we were kind of talking about before, right?
Okay.
Where we have a big server with multiple copies of a file of a solution, one per customer. If you have an SBA license, you're allowed to do this. If you don't have an SBA, you can only run one customer's files on a server at a time.
Correct.
If you have an SBA, you can do it this way. And so then what we do is we have a sub deployment for each customer, because we want each customer's set to succeed or fail on its own, right? If the third customer fails because I screwed up the passwords, who cares? The first two went through, so that's fine. Let them stay. We don't want to roll back the entire thing, right? We want to only roll back the ones that failed. We want the ones that went through to be fine because they're okay. They went through. And the new customers get that.
So if you have like let's say we have 5 customers.
Yeah.
We have, and we don't, I'm not going to do the stage server. Let's have a development server, production server.
Yeah.
We have 3 customers here. Okay.
Yeah.
Would we just build 3 deployments and then schedule 3 different deployments, or you're like somehow tying them together?
You are. And that's what I can show you here. We look at ahead of time here. We added sub deployments. And so we can now add an additional sub deployment and we get to set the same options. Okay. We can name it, this is customer B, whatever.
Okay.
And we can set up our default file options because maybe they have different passwords or a different customer, right?
So this is a schedule that you would set up as an SBA customer, and you're going to run this thing however often you're going to run it, but you're going to run this thing to push updates to all your customers.
That's right.
That's what you're looking at here.
For each server, each production server, you're going to have a deployment, and you're going to have a sub deployment for each customer.
Okay, back up. So a sub deployment is on the same server, correct?
Yes.
That's what that means?
Yes.
So then if we have 5 customers and 5 servers, then that would actually be 5 deployments.
A deployment can have 1 destination server. That's the key.
There you go. The little secret sauce. Okay.
Yes.
This is huge. This is really huge. For those of you doing SBA, there's some people here who have done SBA. I'm thinking Scott, some other people who have done SBA, and they sold the business. They were successful. They sold it, reasonably successful.
Yeah.
And now they're trying and going to do the next one. But this makes life a whole lot easier.
And then when you're doing multi-tenancy, the thing you have to do is, I'll try to set this up to do later in the week, where you have to replace part of the name with the customer's acronym or something. So because you can't have file names at the same file name. So you have, Highlander underscore customer B, Highlander customer B. And so then you can turn this on, and the rename will now maintain the external links. So prior to this, what people had to do this is they had to have dynamic file references, which you've probably had entire episodes on dynamic file references. They're a total pain. They're really a pain to set up. They're a pain to work with. This will
You're doing
use
the references to a variable, global variable. Is that what you're talking
yes, that's
about?
the
Yeah.
dynamic file references. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hard to set up, difficult to manage, pain to debug, all that stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you use AutoFMS, it'll rename and it'll maintain the external file references inside there by just clicking this box.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yes.
mm.
Yes.
My head hurts. My
So
head hurts.
you can have multiple, so a deployment has one destination, but it can actually have multiple sources. So you can have a different source for each sub deployment because maybe one of the customers is on a previous version,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
so slightly different version. They're still
Okay.
running on your server, but
Yeah.
there's a slightly different version. They have something different about it. So they get a different build. So they get a different source and that'll still
Wow.
work.
Wow. This is awesome.
It
Anyone
is. It is awesome.
is anyone not overwhelmed besides no, I'm not I'm totally overwhelmed. Anyone not overwhelmed? Mario, how are we
A lot of
doing?
people, I mean, I have someone yelling "wow" 5 times in a row in my YouTube chat, so I think that they are overwhelmed and amazed. This
Yeah.
product is amazing. Thank you, Todd. Wow, thank you.
Thanks. We
Yeah,
like to hear this. I mean, sometimes, you put this stuff out and it's like, yelling into the silence and there's crickets.
yeah, the
But
void doesn't answer back.
part of the problem with this product and why I'm actually really happy to be on this live stream is it takes a few hours to get into what we've been able to do. Again, we've tried to take 50 plus years of doing this, and on the DevOps side, like all of the DevOps nightmares that we've had over 50 years of trying to do this business, we've tried to put it into one product, one thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you haven't faced those problems, you're not going to even understand, like, why do I care
No.
about multi-tenant? I've never done it. I don't care about that. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't care about it, but maybe now you go, you know what? We have a solution and we've got like 3 servers. I can do this, or we can run 3 copies on the same server for our 3 stores or whatever like that. We
Yeah.
can do that.
It allows you it's another tool. It's like monkey bread. It's very much like that. It allows you to say yes with FileMaker. That's what I tried to explain to executive management, Claris, is that they frequently set us up to say no to people with the product. And we have to say yes more often than not, right? Like, can you blah, blah, blah with FileMaker, right?
Yeah. And I
And,
think one of the things, so for a long time, so for the last, I don't know, 15 years, SaaS, multi-tenancy basically meant that
yeah.
you made a solution, everything lived in one database. And that seemed
Yes.
really easy. And we could never reach that with
Right.
FileMaker.
No.
And it seemed like a problem. And, there's definitely a case where you could say, okay, maybe that's a problem for certain types of SaaS. But there's all kinds of SaaS products where you can't actually even do that. So if you're in healthcare,
Mhm.
you really need to have separate databases for each customer. You
Mhm.
have to do it. And you can't put them all in one, right? And then there's all the privacy issues and all the other. It's actually really great. There are niches within the SaaS, the broad like software ecosystem, where having separate databases per customer is actually a good thing.
Yes.
And
Well,
so FileMaker's, if you know FileMaker, if you're an expert in FileMaker and you've got a business idea, this at least gets you over the DevOps humps, and you can worry about, can I actually sell this thing? Because that's a whole different
marketing
problem.
and yeah, which is
Marketing,
what
selling it, supporting it, all that's another thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's the
And
parts we talk about a lot here. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
but yeah,
we don't get into that. So that's not what we do. We've had people who do SaaS products eventually hire us to do development on their verticals, on their SBAs, but
Mhm.
we don't run programs on like
No,
how
we don't. There are consultants that get out there and help you with that. I just try to
Yes, yeah.
caution people because all they do is they have an idea and they think it's great and it might be great, and then they think they'll be rich. And it's the South Park underwear gnome business model where
You do need like minimum viable product, get it out there, see if you can sell it, all those kind of things.
yeah,
Critically important.
yeah,
And what we're trying to do is just get rid of the technical side so that, yes, if you have a product that has good product market fit and you can charge what it takes to be successful for that product. Like
then
there's
we
plenty
can
of
roll it.
SaaS where if you think you're going to get it, if you're going to be able to charge like $1 a month per user, it's going to be very hard to do with FileMaker. Like it's just going to be very hard. But if you have a market where you could charge $50 a user per month, and there are markets where that's possible,
Mhm.
the ecosystem would support, or the pricing and licensing and everything else would let you make some money on that. You could do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
people who are selling ones that are higher than that, and they're doing
sure.
just fine on those
Yeah.
kinds of margins. It's got to be nichey. It's got to fit all the things that I'm sure you talk about. But the technical side is really solved with AutoFMS, and you can just worry about the other hard parts of doing.
Yeah, which is huge, which is the first thing you have to do. This supporting is the part that happens, getting it out the first customer, like, how the hell do I do this? That's where the auto comes in. So
That's
important.
right. And now you don't have to worry. Just sell. If
We
you
could
can
s-
sell
yeah,
lots of customers, that this technology will support you supporting those customers.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, in an
So-
economic way where it doesn't take 2 days to do one customer import.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. Welcome to, doing this for enough years. You've seen all the ugly stuff with it. So so say yes with FileMaker. That should be a
Say
campaign.
yes. That's part of what we're trying to do here. I want some more questions.
I've been playing with it. Love it. Thank you so much. I really need time to spin down and digest. This is excellent.
Tell all your friends. It's really fun. I love saying that because if you're a FileMaker developer and you're like hanging out at your neighborhood party, whatever, and you can't talk to anybody because they don't know what they don't know. First of all, they probably don't even know what software development is, and then you tell them.
No,
So it's
they have
really
no
funny
idea.
when this is stuff we can't talk about. Another reason why we have to have a good community so that we can have places to hang out and, go to engages and pause on errors and, online stuff like this where we can hang out as a
Absolutely.
community and commiserate and share the joys and the pains and the celebrations and all the other parts of it, the parts of being human, man, because that's the only reason we're here. That's the reason we're on this planet, is to be a human being, to have fun together.
I like that. I like that motto. I've never really thought about my place here in the human being. That's a little bit deeper than.
To me, it's to hang out together, and if you can manage to be more kind than mean, then you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, Larry the Marine. Oh, I'm sorry, pick on Larry. No, Larry's awesome. He's a former Marine and he does a minor league baseball file maker for minor league baseball teams. Badass, right?
Vertical market, SBA.
Yeah, he might need it.
Right.
Yeah, they kept telling that we're going to get rid of FileMaker. We're going to replace it with blah, right? Crickets.
Yeah,
Okay,
it takes a lot of time to remove something once it's working really well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the state of play with the broader ecosystem and AI is definitely having an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a lot of opinions on that, which we'll save for maybe we come back on, Richard, and do some fun stuff on
AI stuff,
on that later on down the road. But I think, the way the software, this is actually, I think you can just see it with FileMaker, but really the way software works in general is a lot like evolution. I think of it like the way evolution worked. First, we got nerves, and then we got a spinal cord. The nerves didn't go away. We just got a spinal cord. And then the spinal cord didn't go away. We just got a brain stem. And then we got the lizard brain, right? The brain stem's still there. It didn't get replaced. We just got a lizard brain. And then we got a mammal brain. And then we got the neocortex, the part that makes us human, right? The part that does all the wacky, crazy stuff. It didn't replace any other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think AI is a supplement. It's
going to go on top.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to be the new brain layer on top of all the stuff we've been building for the last 25 years or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. All right, everyone. It's into today's 90 minutes. I need a break. I need a
Clearly,
break.
You need a break. You can't talk
a drink
anymore.
and a break. So we greatly appreciate. Tomorrow's going to be more on the AutoFMS, auto deploy, learning about all the deployment options, especially if you're thinking about vertical market applications. We're seeing kind of what that looks like here, right? So that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
All right, everyone. If you have
Thanks
questions,
so much. I appreciate it.
If they want to send it, they'll bring questions back. But if they want to send the questions generically,
community.automatic.cloud, community.automatic.cloud. That is the place to post all of your questions. Another great place to hang out and learn from your fellow FileMaker developers. And it's focused on the stuff that we do. So it's mostly automatic, but also if you're a proof kit, which you had on Eric came on.
Oh yeah, we had that. Yep.
You can ask questions about proof kit in there, and other things that we will be making available. You can ask questions there about it.
Wow. Okay, great. All right, everyone. Margaret, you're gonna close us out here. Appreciate it. We'll see everyone tomorrow, same time, 1:00 Pacific, with Todd and Proof Geist.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Yeah.
enough.